Hi again, guys. So here is my demo explaining the very basic ideas of linear perspective. So there's two types of perspective that I'm teaching you. The first, of course, is atmospheric perspective. And if you haven't seen that video, then go ahead to the YouTube channel and then watch the video on atmospheric perspective, so you know what that's all about. The second type of perspective is linear perspective. So you've probably already heard of this. A lot of you might have already learned it, maybe if you had a more advanced high school art class. So, but if you haven't learned it yet, then that's fine. These are the very basic ideas of linear perspective. If you've ever heard of 1-point perspective or 2-point or 3-point or multiple point, those are all different kinds of linear perspective. This is a kind of like an invented technique for showing the illusion of depth and space in a drawing, and it was invented by an Italian man named Brunelleschi in the 16th century. And so he devised this way to draw, especially architecture, but really any kind of, outdoor scene, to make it give the illusion that things are, going back in space and that there's depth in space. It is not a perfect strategy. It's not a perfect device, 1-point perspective, because it's a slight simplification on reality. Because in reality, things exist according to multiple perspectives at the same time, but it being a simplification down to just one single point makes it sort of simple and easier for artists to depict depth and space. So that's why we start with 1 point. So these are the three main ideas in linear perspective. You have the horizon line, the vanishing point, and the eye level. And so just like we did before with your atmospheric perspective video, I want you to get your small sketchbook and grab a pencil. And if you have a ruler, grab a ruler, or if you don't have a ruler, you can really just use anything with a straight edge, like the edge of one of your notebooks or the edge of a book, or you can take a sheet of paper and fold it a couple of times to make a straight edge. You can totally improvise a straight edge if you don't happen to have a ruler. So, but it helps to use that when we're doing this sort of practice drawing. And in this case, you are going to follow along with me and just draw what I draw, essentially, just for your understanding and for your practice. So the first thing I'm going to have you do is right in the center, somewhere in the middle of your page, you're going to draw a straight horizontal line. And this is our horizon line. All right. And then in the center of that line, I want you to make a dot, make a point. And that is the vanishing point. So it's called a vanishing point because, according to linear perspective, all lines that are parallel, such as train tracks, if you look at them going off into the distance, then they appear to come together at a point on the horizon, right? So if these were two sides of the train track, they would appear to come together right at that point, right? If you're standing in the center of the train tracks and looking down, they're gonna look like they touch, but we know that they never touch, right? No train tracks ever come towards each other. They're always parallel. So this is the sort of illusion of showing depth, things that are, think about the diminishing size. This is like similar to that. Those parallel lines, they run parallel forever. seen from our perspective, from our point of view, standing in the middle of the train tracks, appear to come together and touch at the vanishing point. So they also appear to vanish on the horizon, although we know that they don't, right? So it's just, it's an appearance thing. And so these are some of the main ideas in linear perspective. You have a horizon line, you have a vanishing point, and then you have eye level. So everything drawn according to linear perspective is always drawn from the level of your eyeballs. So the way, when you look out at the world, the way that you see things, the types of angles that you see on buildings or cars or tables or whatever you're looking at, totally depends on your own height, right? So the height of your eyes in the space. And if you change your height, if you're sitting on the floor, sitting in a chair, or standing on a ladder, then the angles change too. So eye level is really important in linear perspective. You can make a drawing from an ant's eye view, so being extremely short, or a bird's eye view from being extremely tall, right? And those will be two different perspectives. So in order to kind of sort of visually understand all of these concepts, we're going to draw some boxes. So somewhere down below the horizon line, and for practical purposes for this drawing, our horizon line is also our eye level. Although they're not always the same, but for this drawing they will be. So somewhere down in the bottom of your on the bottom of your line, and off to the left or right, I want you to draw a square. So this is the front of our box, and then you're going to take your ruler or straight edge, and you're going to connect a line from the vanishing point to the three corners of your square that are closer to your vanishing point. So I'll just try to eyeball a straight line here. Alright, so those are my as straight as I can get lines connecting the vanishing point to these three corners of the square. So now you're just going to draw a perfectly horizontal line that's parallel to this line somewhere up here. That will be the back edge of our box, and then connect from here straight perpendicular down to this line here, and that'll be the side edge of our box. All right, and so now this is like a square box drawn according to 1 point perspective. Right, so we know that these two edges, or actually all three of these edges in real life, if it's a real box, are always parallel. They're never going towards each other. But if you draw them according to 1 point perspective, then they all point towards that point. And that gives the illusion that this box has depth of space, that this back edge is farther away and this front edge is closer to us. Also, thinking about eye level, you can see that this is the top edge of the box, and the side edge and the front edge of the box, the surface of the box. You can see the top edge of the box because it's below our eye level. So anything that's below the eye level, you can see the top surface of it. But once it gets to eye level or above, you can't see the top surface of it anymore. So we're going to demonstrate that with a couple more boxes here. So now, do the same thing and draw a square somewhere in the top. I'm going to put mine here. It can be a square or a rectangle, whatever you please. Okay, and then do the same thing and connect these three corners up to your vanishing point. That is tricky for me. Okay. Right. Okay, and then close off the back edge of your box. I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna make mine a little longer here. So I'll put my horizontal line here and then put my straight perpendicular line here. All right. So now here's our box, another box, and it's above the horizon line eye level. So we can't see the top surface of it anymore, but we can see the bottom surface. We can see the bottom and one side and the front. All right, now what happens if we put it right on the eye level? So let's put a square anywhere on the line, like sitting right there on the line. Now, which corner can you connect to the vanishing point? The bottom corner is already connecting, and now just the top corner. Right, and then you would just put the back of the box wherever you'd like. So when it's sitting on the horizon line or on the eye level, here we cannot see the bottom and neither can we see the top surface. We can just see the two sides. Right, so notice how this box, it looks more like a building. Right, buildings are large objects. They're large squares, large rectangles, large boxes, right? So, and we're all, whether we're sitting or standing, our eye level, the height of our eyes is somewhere in the middle of this building, right? So we can't see the bottom surface of it and we can't see the top surface of it, but we can only see the sides, right? So, this could be one way of creating a vanishing point and then lining up your top edge of the building to point to that vanishing point to draw that building in perspective. So hopefully that makes sense to you. You can practice with different types of things, but I just chose boxes because they're the simplest thing and they can demonstrate these concepts really well. So in the next video, I'm going to go more into depth about one-point perspective. And for your homework, you're going to kind of follow along with me in these videos and do your own sketches, the atmospheric perspective and then the linear perspective. And then you're also going to do kind of a more creative assignment, which is the surrealist landscape. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the surreal art and what those artists were interested in and how you can get inspiration from them to create your own landscape. And then the other requirement about the landscape that you draw is that you have to use both atmospheric and linear perspective to create depth of space in the drawing. All right, see you in the next video.